But then there's the older men who are adults and decide one day that they're women. And for so many of them, this is a fetish. I mean, this is like the thing we're not allowed to say or acknowledge, but it's totally true. That for most of these older men who decide that I'm a woman, it's a fetish. It's autogynephilia.
Yes.
They're enchanted by the idea of themselves as women, and so now we have to participate in your fetish. Like you get off on the idea of being seen as a woman, and I have to be a participant in that. It's really degrading and to all of us, that we're all being forced into this.
Well, it's always been a psychological condition. It's always been known as being like a psychiatric condition.
Paraphilia, the Wiktionary, and the indirect Wikipedia definition. Okay, this is what I wanted to bring up. You type in autogynephilia, it was just that word and phrase that Matt Walsh that we just saw describe as a type of fetish. Now, given the etymology of the word, you can kind of figure out what it means. But when you look it up, this is what's given. Blanchard's transsexualism typology. And to summarize it, it just says it's a typology within psychological phenomenon, a particular one called gender dysphoria, which, we all know is in the DSM-5 updated. Not sure how much longer it's going to be in there because, uh, as long as it's causing distress, since the American Psychology Association made the distress the fifth D around 2019, like they really stressed that or 2019 and 2020 really stressed that it's necessary to be classified as a psychological disorder. It's probably going to stay in there because we know that even in countries that have much higher social acceptance and cultural uh, embrace of transgenders, like we see in the Scandinavian countries, they still have incredibly high rates of suicide and depression. Unfortunately. However, I mean that's a sub point. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I mean, look, you look it up. Matt Walsh is obviously making waves in culture right now. Like the stuff he's covering over, particularly with transgenderism and transgender ideology and gender dysphoria, and like these psychology associations and these quote unquote scientific institutions that seem to be passing off ideology more than they are actual science these days, and it's crossing a lot of ethical boundaries. I mean, that's why he's getting involved. Is I just kind of wanted to be sure what that he talked about autogynephilia in the correct context. So I looked it up, and it actually doesn't tell it to you. It actually doesn't explain what autogynephilia is. It talks about it, but it doesn't define what it is. Autogynephilia, I mean, you have to go through this one extra effort to see what it is, and it's PubMed, which, okay, yeah. All right, one source. It seems semi credible, so why not go with it? Abstract. Autogynephilia is defined as a male's propensity to be sexually aroused by the thought of himself as a female. I mean, yeah, pretty spot on with the etymology. However, look, the first thing it tells you on the Google search is Blanchard's transsexualism typology. It tells you, how it relates to psychology gender dysphoria, and tells you that the different categories that it falls under, and like who was behind it, who innovated it, when. But the fact that it doesn't tell you what it is kind of makes me skeptical. Like, and pairing it with the waves that Matt Walsh is making in culture around the controversy of modern day transgenderism, it it's not unreasonable to say Google put this The actual definition, just you didn't make it hidden like, oh, we're not hiding it. Of course you're not hiding it. Going through that extra effort, yeah, on large scale, there's people that aren't going to go through it. I almost like gave up. I'm like, oh, big words. That sounds kind of expertish. I kind of want to defer it to. Oh, and then immediately halfway I thought, wait, actually, no. Let me double check this guy. Let me keep going further, get a solid definition of it. And guess what? So you can't prove that they did it on purpose without doing like some sort of coding overhaul like Elon Musk is doing with Twitter. But you also can't dismiss it entirely either, just because of the context I was saying. It's its political correctness is so overwhelmingly strong and present. Its presence just demand its acknowledgement, and not just acknowledgement like him and Joe are saying in Joe Rogan's recent podcast. It has to be acknowledged, and if not, they'll leverage power over you. You're going to lose your jobs. You're going to lose this and your potential tenure, like Jordan B. Peterson was saying, or how they quote him. So I'll end it off with this one extra example. If I were to at Google define biology, this is akin, or this parallels Google telling me, oh, biology is a branch of the natural sciences like chemistry and physics. But we know biology is the study of life, and we can know that through the etymology. But instead of telling you what it is, because I think autogynephilia actually might have a negative connotation and might undermine um, the transgender movement, or it's not just the transgender movement, but it's the progressive socialist communist movement as a whole. Just unfortunately they're using them as a battering ram to get what they want politically and in terms of power and policies. Yeah, it's like looking up what biology is, and they don't tell you it's the study of life. They tell you it's like these things, and it falls under this category. And oh, Charles Darwin made great movements in it in the 19th century. And yeah, but what is biology? So that's just a pattern I feel like is worth bringing up. And I mean, yeah, understanding that uh, autogynephilia actually does account for a percentage of people that are transgenders, like Matt Walsh was saying, particularly older males that get off on it, and particularly too like transvestites, men who like to dress as women and get off on that. You have so many different variations within transgenderism, or queer. I don't know. Do we include them? This sexuality and gender stuff, like they keep it amorphous, but also defined to certain extents. It's hard to define it all. Anyway, this is just one example of a pattern that you see, big tech implement. Biology, the study of living organisms, divided into many specialized fields that cover their morphology, physiology, anatomy, behavior, origin, and distribution. It it gives you a perfect example of what it is.